predictions for the Rings of Power, and looks like we have finally indeed made it to the finale. And we've got quite a lot of stuff to talk about today, especially some things, as you can see on screen right now, revolving around some rings. So I think it is safe to say that we do indeed have a lot to discuss. And due to the fact that we have a lot to discuss, we've got a lovely panel here today as well to help me and us with that. So firstly, who wonderfully last week helped present the show while I was quite sick, Gregory. Hello, my friend.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
Thanks for coming on again. Also, hey to the chat, everyone in chat as well. Also, but for the even though it is the last one, joining us for the first time, we have Jason Charles Miller as our special guest. Hello, my friend.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, and I think we've got quite a lot of predictions to get through, so excited for that. But as always, we have Nikki. Hello, great to have you on again.
Hey guys, good to be here, as always.
And then next to her, we have Barlaman Butterbur. Henry, hello, my friend.
Hey, I'm ready. So ready for this.
Ready. And then finally, not finally, we also have joining today Lucas. Hello, my friend.
Hello, guten Tag.
Guten Tag, my friend. And last but not least, doing more of the behind-the-scenes stuff, but he will be here as well. We have Showblade. Hello, my friend.
Hello, guys. Nice to be here.
So let's get, I think, without further ado, let's get right into it. So I think for episode 7, I think we've discussed that quite a lot now, but I think, is it safe to say that's more of, a build-up episode building up towards this finale? Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. It felt like an intermission. Left a lot to be desired, I feel. But it's exciting. Can't wait to see what it's leading up to.
Indeed. And also, hello to Indeed Geek in chat as well. Looking forward to having you here. And of course, Lakitia as well. Great to see all the regulars in chat. So I think let's get into episode 8 then. So firstly, I think, Frederick, my friend, why don't we start with this first picture of, let's see, Gil-galad and Elrond. I think that's a fair way to start off. First of all, I'd like to think, Jason, how excited are you that we are all excited that we are finally seeing Gil-galad again? He's been quite a rarity. He's been quite a rarity.
They've been keeping him kind of distant and aloof. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say. Hopefully, they kind of bring him back a little bit to what we have expected, or what as book fans we have come to know and love him for. But I feel like there's going to be a bit of a redemption here for him. He's not going to be such a jerk.
Yes. Yeah. Do you feel like, Nikki, this is finally going to be the episode where Gil-galad, we do get more of see the depth of his character, see where it's going?
I hope so. I mean, if we are going to see anything about the rings, we kind of need to establish his character as well. And yeah, I haven't liked him so far because I've seen so little, and the little I've seen has been very political.
Yes.
But he's actually a really good character in the Lord of the Rings and in the lore, and an important part of the whole forging of the rings, and of course being against it and all of that. So, I mean, yeah, I really hope so. We need to start liking him.
Yes, and I think this was quite a funny thing I saw a few weeks ago, where some of the people who do not know the lore and just coming into it for the first time, they're saying, maybe Gil-galad is Sauron. I think that is to the extent that some were thinking with this character. So it would be quite an interesting one. And also, we have Carl as usual, in chat as well. He says, I can't wait to see what Gil-galad has to say about Galadriel's return. Gregory, do you think we're going to see anything around that reaction of Galadriel returning to when, in fact, she in episode 1, I think now, jumped off that boat, swam back, betrayed the decision that, of course, the High King had given her. Do you think we'll see that interaction happen?
Yeah, I was actually a little surprised to see that still. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess it does set up some dramatic conflict. My question is whether or not Gil-galad is already aware that Galadriel has returned. I mean, he is the High King, and elves tend to have pretty, there's this sort of almost mystic knowledge to what they do and don't know. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's already aware that she's still on Middle-earth. But I definitely think it's going to propel the story forward, and hopefully we will see that next corner of Gil-galad's character. I mean, that's my hope, is that this is the episode where they sort of let him be unclothed a little bit.
And I just think also, yeah, one thing I think, if you haven't already, make sure to check out Indie Geek's wonderful interview with Bear McCreary. I think they're talking about in chat with Priscilla TV right now. So I think that is something to make sure to check out. But yeah, I do agree with that. And I think if we move on from... Actually, let's not move on from Gil-galad for a minute, because there is also one of the highlights of the season right next to him, Elrond. Lucas, do you think... It's interesting, we've got Galadriel, we've got Gil-galad, we've got Elrond, Celebrimbor, everyone here. Do you think Elrond will have an important purpose in this episode?
Yeah, I think he has quite a concerning look on his face, that he isn't very happy about the decision Gil-galad will make in this episode, or like he holds a ring or something in his hand or just a Mithril stone, that he will like only for that kind of elves, that they will be preserved with those materials or something like that. And Elrond is like, hey dude, do you really think that is a good idea?
Sorry, go ahead.
I think there will be some kind of deeper conflict between those two, which will be carried in the next season.
And we've also seen that mentor-mentee relationship so far, but it feels like we've seen that Elrond has almost felt betrayed as well. So I think, yeah, that'll be an interesting aspect I'm sure we will be exploring. And yes, as Lakitty says in chat, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so Fellowship will go buy some throat pastels. Fair enough. Yes, I hope my voice is better now. Hope I'm more clear than last week. So yeah, thank you that. And also Hen in chat as well. So yeah, things are looking good.
If I may, just a quick prediction on sort of what we might see in this episode regarding Elrond's, Celebrimbor, and Gil-galad. We do know that ultimately Elrond is the lieutenant of Gil-galad going into the final alliance, right? So that, I think we might start to see that shift in Gil-galad against Celebrimbor, because they do end up having some divisiveness between them. And I wouldn't be surprised if Gil-galad, having been behind Celebrimbor this whole time, once he sees what's being unfolded, starts to have second guesses, maybe because Elrond starts to doubt it first. And that might be a nice sort of journey for Gil-galad's character and sort of arc to sort of change his perspective on this. And we start to see the seeds of that in this episode.
I like that interpretation. We see almost Elrond's intuition to find that out, and that's has almost like a rolling effect. It happens to Gil-galad, etc. He understands. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see about their relationship. But as Frederick already has on screen, we are at last going to be seeing our friend Celebrimbor. And Jason, is that a forge we think we are seeing right there? What do you think that is that they are?
Yeah, I think that's probably the completed forge. The completed super forge that they were working on.
Yes.
What I'm wondering is, I wonder if the showrunners here are actually going to change the lore around a bit, because we haven't seen Anatar yet / Sauron, and we have, and there's all these predictions that the Stranger is Sauron, that Halbrand is Sauron. But if they're already making the forge and appearing to be already making the ring, then either Anatar is there already and we haven't met him yet, or they've decided to kind of, fiddle with the lore here and have Celebrimbor start to make rings without being influenced by Sauron. So I'm curious as to how that's going to play out.
And would you be fine if they did, JD Payne Patrick did go through that route where Celebrimbor with his own idea and intuition decides to start forging these rings?
I mean, yeah, if I would be okay with it if, for example, not long after he starts making the rings, then say Sauron / Anatar shows up and it's like, no, don't do it like that, do it like this or whatever. I'll be okay with that. But it's just interesting how they are interpreting certain pieces of the lore that I think large swaths of us agree that it's this way, and they're like, no, but you could also look at it this way. So it's the choices that they're making are interesting to me, and I'm hopefully tomorrow's episode really kind of buttons up a lot of questions.
Jason, I might be wrong, so please correct me if I am. Oh, sorry, are you still talking, Jason? Oh no.
No, I was nodding. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think the visuals of my stream are a few seconds behind. I thought that the lesser rings, right, the essays in the craft that we see, were begun before Anatar got involved. So perhaps that's maybe what we're going to see, is the forging of just some trinkets as they were.
Gotcha.
And the gold rings will be
I hope so.
forged for the second
Yeah,
season.
that would make sense.
Also, we see that explosion in the tower, and maybe this will be a failed attempt. That something goes very, very wrong here.
So to provide a contrary opinion to this being the new forge, I think this is the old forge, and that they're making the attempt, which will then go wrong, because if you look at the picture the clip with the explosion, there's vines on the tower. Now, unless the vines provide a structural part of the new tower being built, I don't see that being the new forge.
That is.
Yeah, I thought the new forge was going to be bigger.
Yeah, and if like the backgrounds of both different forges seem, or at least the background of the forge with the explosion and the forge being built seems different enough that I feel like we might. I'm not sure whether or not this is actually the failed attempt, or whether this is like coming to the end of the episode after, like, Celebrimbor said whatever it was, which is we're running out of time, or however. Then yeah, I don't know if this is the new forge.
And we have asked the community, so if you want to vote in chat as well, but go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, if and I haven't been a fan of Halbrand is Sauron, but I haven't been a fan of that, but I reluctantly am predicting that that's what's going to happen. If that is what's going to happen, we may see a scene where this forge fails, Halbrand magically shows up and says, hey, try it this way, so who knows? Sort of like they've been peppering that throughout the other 7 episodes. And not to get too far.
I'm growing in that direction too.
Yeah, and the only thing that will make me feel a little bit better if Halbrand is Sauron would be if, for example, when he encounters Galadriel for the first time out on the Sundering Seas, that perhaps that was something that Sauron manufactured with his sorcery. That their chance meeting was not a chance meeting at all. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead, but anyway.
No, I hear that, or at the very least, even if that was a chance meeting, that the reason for him being on the raft had some underlying reason,
Yeah, sinister plans of some sort.
But I hope that they don't craft the rings we know from the Lord of the Rings, 16 or something, 20 rings. Yes, 20 rings. I hope we don't see them forged in this episode, because I think that would be a little bit too fast.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Agreed.
It'll be interesting then to see how I think next episode, I think we will find the answer to that, whether it is the 3 rings or not. But I think it'd be fair if it's lesser rings personally. But again, we shall have to see. But an interesting thing, Lucas, in the background, Frederick, my friend, if you could zoom into the back right, are we seeing the beginning of potentially the Great Eye Mundine? Is that a possibility?
I think the Gwaith Imiridan would already exist because that's like Celebrimbor's little blacksmith school. But they are now starting the process of the lesser rings and like magic blacksmithing.
I have a theory.
And-
The guy behind Elrond there is Sauron.
I knew someone was going to say that. Mm-hmm.
What if they're Feanorians? I mean, they've got red hair.
That is a possibility.
Yeah.
We did see
Nice.
maybe it's the guy from that little kid from episode 1 in the flashback scene. Yeah, that can't float. That guy. So
The one that threw the
maybe.
rock.
Yeah, the one that threw the rock.
I thought
That
that
would be
was the
funny.
dude on the boat.
Oh,
What do you guys-
Ooh,
What do you guys
Conde,
think
yeah,
of,
maybe.
what do you guys think of a theory I've seen floating around that Pascal just mentioned in the chat, that Galadriel will sacrifice her dagger to build something
Indeed.
new?
can we actually skip to the next scene? Thank you, Frederick. So,
Oh,
Gregory, do you want
I'm
to?
not sure about it.
Yeah. Zen, do you want to firstly explain that theory properly? So, what have people been saying as a potential prediction?
Well, I haven't even seen people fully flesh it out. I've just seen this is, I think, the third time I've seen someone mention it, that the dagger that we've seen with her throughout the show, that was Finrod's, will be melted down and reforged. And I would guess, if that were to be the case, maybe that would be, if these are lesser rings now, but then maybe that'll happen in future season for greater rings, that could potentially go into what ends up becoming her ring, or perhaps even the foundation of some of the other great rings, because of the material of the I believe it came out of the west, right? It came out
Yep.
of Valinor. So
It even has the 2 trees things on it, emblems.
Right.
So.
Mm.
Does anybody
But
buy
her
that
ring-
theory?
I don't think it will be for her ring because her ring is the
They're gonna
Mithril
kill
ring.
someone.
Mm.
Hmm?
And even Kyle in chat says true creation requires sacrifice. Maybe this is the sacrifice for the true creation. Henry, I don't think you're buying it. Do you not?
I'm not sure. I feel like it, in terms of just sort of general storytelling, it's a very good idea because it gives a clear kind of definitive end almost to one arc and start to another. But for her, it just doesn't feel like it would make sense. I can't quite articulate why. Just vibes.
No, that's fair. So it is, but I do think that could be a possibility. Of course, we have no further, don't say confirmation or anything, but it is quite an interesting thing.
Angry.
Yes.
A little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Frustrated.
you know,
Frustrated.
if I may,
So I'm like, either
I-
being forced to do it.
guys, Bill just said a super
Yeah.
chat that says,
Thank
"Who
you,
will
first
say
of all.
with these?" Yeah, thank you, Bill. With these 3 elven rings, even this bit of mithril. Hold on, my thing went. The blight of fading. I could so see that as being the way that they get around this sort of fading notion, and it actually salvages a bit of that lore problem for me a little bit, in that the preservation of the elves over the course of the Second Age and the Third Age came from the power of the rings, and in Lorien and in Ladris. So I could see that if there is mithril, we know that there's mithril in 1. Perhaps they'll bend the lore a little bit to say there's mithril in all 3, and that is the protection that's without having to have them all bathe in the light of mithril. If the protection is encoded in these rings, perhaps that's the direction they're headed with that.
Yeah, that's a great idea to sort of satisfy some of us book fans, because the girdle of Melian from Doriath, that is sort of a similar power that Galadriel uses the ring for with Lorien, correct?
Yes.
I don't know, maybe the show could expand on that, and that, you know, covers the whole continent or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I with that dagger, the dagger was created for the show, right? So
Yes.
it was Finrod's dagger. She's been carrying it the whole time. There's been plenty of close-ups on it. There's definitely something that the showrunners are doing with this dagger. I'm totally in that camp, especially because it was made for the show only. And
yes.
I think as book fans, we're kind of trained we're looking for all the book Easter eggs, but for people that aren't necessarily lore experts, I'm sure that the dagger has much more significance to your casual viewer than it does to us, because we're like, well, she didn't have that dagger, so, you know, that's cool, but we're not really going to think about it. But I would, you know, now watching these 7 episodes, I would be surprised if that dagger didn't play in some bigger design.
There is another ring. I just thought of it. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, but there's also Barahir's ring, which came from Finrod, and that could be the metal for Barahir's ring, which, of course, in the sense of that going through Barahir and then coming to Numenor makes not that much sense, but they could somehow implement that. Will not happen, but just came
Harry,
to mind.
Yeah, we'll get to the super chats in a second, but first thing I want to propose to you guys, we will get back to those, I promise. I think, Jason, you talked about the daggers, it says importance. Do you think this could possibly again lead to maybe another Finrod flashback due to their importance in this episode? Nikki, would you like that?
Sorry, what?
Do you think the importance of having this dagger again could lead to some more Finrod flashbacks?
I hope so, because Finrod is fantastic. So I would love to see more flashbacks. But I don't know how. Like, I don't know how they would integrate it. Like,
maybe
I don't
before
know
she
if
gives it
Galadriel's ever
away.
seen him use it, because she was really young. Then again, maybe. Maybe if Halbrand, because you know how you guys were talking about in like the second episode, how Halbrand noticed the dagger and like hesitated on it. It's either because he knows what material it is, and he's really into smithing, or it's because he recognizes it from somewhere. So it could be his flashback. I don't know.
That is.
Wow.
Do you think we could get the Halbrand is Sauron reveal, if that's true, through a flashback with Finrod, with him killing Finrod? How crazy would that be? Like, I never thought of that before. I'm not sure whether I like it or not, but it is quite an interesting.
It would be, it would be very dramatic. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Indeed. But it would be nice to see if we do get more of, I think it will Fletcher's work as well. But I think it's time to, unless there's anything to add around Finrod. Cool. So then, could be Frederick get that first super chat up from Bill C? So he says, Anatar says, Galadriel sacrifice a knife. Yours and Finrod's gift shall make men and dwarves great rings of gold. That is quite an interesting way. I think, this knife seems quite integral to this episode. I think there was another one as well. Fun fact, the actual Great Blight was caused by naturalists importing shade trees from Asia. The US chestnut blight killed 3 to 5 billion great trees. Thank you for that information. Yeah, it's quite unfortunate for those trees. So I think it is going to be interesting. I think there is, Frederick, one more picture that we haven't talked about yet.
Before moving on to the next picture, I have a quick question. What ring is she wearing right there?
Ooh.
Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Funky.
It has a green stone, so it can't be one of the 3 elven rings.
Maybe it's her engagement ring from her late husband.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one.
Do we think
She's just
She
wearing it
finds-
on the wrong finger because he's dead.
She
do you
finds
think
it
he's
in a
gonna show
cupboard
up in this
somewhere.
episode? I doubt it, but
I like that take,
Yeah.
Nikki. Even if it's not
Yeah.
true, I like the take.
Yeah.
Even
It's a
as
good thing.
Valken says as well in chat, her wedding ring, that'd be quite. Maybe she'd have to sacrifice that too. That'd be.
Oh
very
no.
sad.
Oh
That'd be-
no!
Sad.
Just take all of her jewelry. Just
Yeah.
everything that you're wearing, give it to me now.
But
Yeah.
to be fair,
But
the people have been quite liking her costume in this episode, in this picture.
Yeah,
at
it's
least,
beautiful.
So strong.
Yeah. But Lucas,
Yeah.
you want to add
Perfect for
something?
Halloween. I'm so ready.
Mhm.
yes, we see the wet hair in this scene, and we see a scene where she emerges from the water, and maybe this is if they do make the elven ring, that she wears the ring of water Nenya, that this is somehow connected.
I could see that. I could see that. Like,
Mm.
it would be interesting. Or maybe it's a way that it's like, yeah, it helps make Nenya at some point when, like, some of that old ring. But that's getting quite technical, though. So it'll be interesting to see how that all works out. But I believe, I think, Frederick, should we get up the picture of just Celebrimbor, who looks like, I think a lot of people on Twitter have been quite like, I think Lakitia is one of them as well in chat, who's been in chat. So yes, this picture of Celebrimbor. Also, I think we've gotten, before we go to that, we've got a thanks super chat from Steve Sadler. Panel chat coming up, some great theories as usual. Catch up later to theatre for some culture. Take care, my friend. Thank you. So he is the key man to this episode. We all thought, this season would be maybe around Celebrimbor. We haven't seen as much of him, but I think we go back to the start bit. I'd like to go from Gregory all the way to Lucas at the end. Do you think we're going to be seeing actual lesser rings being forged or actual rings of power? What do you think?
I think that this is going to be the introduction of the Forge and the introduction of the idea of what their goals are. And we do see something being forged, so I definitely think that we'll see it in action. I think the drama will be revolving around whether or not this is a good idea to begin with, not about necessarily what is being forged. And I think as such that we're going to be seeing lesser rings, or maybe even things that aren't rings, but we're going to be seeing lesser objects being forged. And the drama is going to be based around the opening of the forge and all that concerns.
That's a fair answer. That's fair. Jason, on to you, my friend.
Yeah, Gregory really put that idea in my head about the lesser rings that I sort of just, flew out of my head. I was always thinking it was going to be one of the 20. The show is called The Rings of Power after all, and we've seen no Rings of Power, but the build up. Yeah, I agree with Gregory here that that's probably what's going to happen. So I'm excited to see it.
Nikki, you?
Yeah, I sort of agree. Like, what I feel is gonna happen, because regardless of whether or not it is Halbrand who is Anatar, who is Sauron, who is, they haven't really established him at all, and they need to before they can start actually forging the actual rings. Otherwise, he'll be like a shadow that isn't even mentioned or established, and they just go on starting to make the rings. So what I think is likely to happen is that, okay, so we didn't get the Mithril. Galadriel, your dagger. Let's try it out because it means something, and it's a certain kind of steel like effect. Let's try something with that, and then they start meddling with it, and then Halbrand is Sauron, and he shows up, and he's like, "So, what is this? This is fun. Teach me. Let's." And then he becomes friends with Celebrimbor and blah blah blah. And then in the next season, of course, Durin and Dita are gonna be lords of the castle, and they'll be mining for Mithril, and they'll be starting to make the rings. That's what I feel.
That is, I'd actually say, very, very thought through. I like that. No, it's good. Parliament, Lucas, guessing you guys generally agree lesser rings?
Yeah, that's my feeling. I think the forge very much looks like it's pouring into a ring-like mold, and it's just a matter of what they end up being. I think it would make sense to have some rings being made this season, and then potentially next season you have actual rings of power being made.
Fair enough. Lucas, you agree too? I think makes sense.
Yes, and I also think that this isn't the main forge. I tie in with Henry there because at the beginning of the teaser, they also say like they ran out of time and they have to try something now.
Yep.
If they run out of time, does anybody still think that maybe it's all a lie from Sauron, and even with that little piece of mithril that he threw against the leaf, that maybe it's just the leaf that it'll affect? Is there a way that they could still bring that around to that, or are we in full mithril chlorian mode at this point?
I really hope that there's a lie in there somewhere. I hope.
Yeah, me too.
It's less and less likely. It's kind of looking, but I do
Yeah.
hope. So. And well, to I think raise some people's hopes, not hopes, but like excitement for a bit. Of course, Fellowship of Fans. What was our core integral thing is I'd say leaks. So I'm not sure how. It's not a big spoiler one, and I'm not sure. I did also say for episode 5 that might be quite a controversial episode to look out, but we've never released this one because we've not had that much about it, so it could easily still be wrong. So this is more of a grain of salt one, but what we were always told that there will be maybe a minute or few minute montage of Celebrimbor forging something. So hopefully that is going to be in the next episode, that we will get a few minutes maybe of Celebrimbor, Charles Edwards forging something, maybe a ring. So that'd be a nice thing. Do you think a montage like that of him creating that? Do you guys like that idea? If we're going to see it,
if there's no 80s
Yes.
hair metal song over the top of it, I don't want it.
Now,
If his shirt doesn't come off eventually.
I want there to be the montage song. We need a montage.
Yeah,
Legend of Ring.
I think it could be so good if that is true.
Mm-hmm. So
I
Yeah,
have
it depends on the ring that he's forging.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could
I
they
have a
flip it?
question.
I have a question about that. Could they flip it so that they forge the elven rings without Sauron beforehand?
No. Because one important thing about the rings is when Sauron dies eventually, that the rings of the elves don't work.
Oh, right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again, Lucas. Pardon me?
When the one ring is destroyed and Sauron is destroyed, the elven rings stop working.
Wasn't I happened to just listen to the Council of Elrond's on audiobook like 2 days ago, and I thought I remembered Elrond saying that they were unsure as to what would happen. He subscribed to the idea that the elven rings would stop working, but that there were some who believed that they would be free of the spell of the One Ring and be able to continue to work. Was that ever resolved?
Yes.
I can't remember because Elrond's thing is so fresh in my mind right now.
Yes, it was resolved. That was also the reason why they left Middle-earth then, because the rings didn't work. The realms weren't preserved after that.
Right.
They lost their magic.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting if we do see that again play out. But I think we do have a super chat that we want to. I think Bill C again. Thank you for being so generous today. Mithril will be hardest to work into rings, thus last, and done after Anitar's skills are passed on to Celebrimbor.
Ooh.
Interesting thoughts again. Quite a lot of interesting thoughts. Of course, if you want to give some more and give your thoughts as well, then be so kind. But I think one thing we haven't spoken about before we move on to the other side of Middle-earth, I think we should go. If Frederick, you could, well, of course, I've given you short notice, but if you get a picture of Halbrand on the screen at some point. So, Halbrand is injured. He is wounded. He is somehow. I heard someone say, "Okay, how is Halbrand a human, able to survive being that injured and ride across from the Southlands to Eregion, going through up the Misty Mountains, that whole mountain range?" Well, if he isn't a human, would he potentially a Maya or something more? Would he actually? Yeah, Lucas has got it up. If you can see in the bottom, he's getting it up right there on the map. Will we be? Will someone like him be able to survive that fast? So we now know that he is in Eregion. Jason, do you think this means anything?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the last thing for me where I reluctantly said, he's probably Sauron. Now, I will say this. I have another theory, and I think Digital Tolkien Project talked about it too, that what if Halbrand was Halbrand, this guy from the Southlands the whole time, but now, after the eruption, he's Sauron pretending to be Halbrand. I know that maybe just I wish that because I don't want all the other stuff to be Sauron too. But that's another theory too. But yeah, to ride that far, I mean, I think it feels like that's sort of the signal to me that they're going to make him Sauron.
Yes, and I think one thing I think you mentioned Digital Tolkien Project we had on our Sunday show, the off part show. He also mentioned, could we finally this episode find out what is in that pouch that, thank you Frederick, he's holding? Could whatever is in that pouch help potentially with the making of whatever Celebrimbor's making? That's a little potential prediction possibility. What do you guys think is in that pouch? Do you think we'll even see that whole aspect of what is in his pouch?
Sauron.
Yeah.
Sauron is in that pouch.
Yeah, it's Sauron.
Yeah.
It was a bag of holding.
Yeah.
I don't even think that's that far away from the truth, maybe.
Yeah.
Because we know that he put a lot of energy into the One Ring, which was also a very small object. So maybe we aren't far. So I don't hope that it is that way.
Yeah.
But well, they could make it that way. That's already like another ring-like trinket.
What happens is little gold dust in that pouch. So yes, helps, gives to Celebrimbor and it helps him make some rings. Something like, of course not that, but like a concept whereby that does happen. So it will be interesting to see with Halbrand. And I think it will be. And also, we've also gotten again 2 more super chats from Bill C. Thank you. He says, I think this is back to Halbrand. His wound was not deep, but soured. Elven for infected. Hard to see how he inflicted a sword cut under his arm. So is that this potentially, thanks again for the comment, potentially hinting the fact that he self-inflicted himself so he could go to Eregion? Do any of you subscribe to that possibility?
Yeah, I mean, if he's Sauron, he could just make an illusion that that's what happened. You know what I mean? He wouldn't need the physics wouldn't need to be involved. It would just be magic.
He's a method actor.
Method actor, yeah. Method actor indeed. So I think we have covered. Does anybody have any final thoughts on all this side of Middle-earth, all the elves, what's happening in Eregion?
I wanted to point out something about the Halbrand situation. I find it interesting that he's traveling to Eregion, right, with Galadriel, and yet we see him in none of the promo shots. And I wonder why that is. I mean, and you guys, I've had this theory for a while that he will be revealed as Anatar. That could totally, of course, not be true. But one thing to think of is that if that were the case, then he could not appear before Celebrimbor with Galadriel, because Celebrimbor would be like, "Hey, Halbrand," or "Hey, Anatar, how's it going?" And Galadriel would be like, "You two know each other," and that would be an issue. So I wonder if perhaps we will get a separate scene where Halbrand comes to the forge without Galadriel, and we have, if my long holding theory is to stand, I think that's how it would be unfolded.
I mean, or what if when he's Anatar, it's a different actor? Like he literally, I mean, we knew that Sauron could change shape. So what if his fair form as Anatar is a completely different person?
More attractive.
Could be.
I know
That
someone's
one
probably
guy in the background.
that one Gwyth Emeraldine in the background. So yeah, that is quite interesting. But Lucas, you said you had something as well.
Yes, because we know from the lore that Anatar first went to Lindon, where he was rejected by Gil-galad and Elrond, and then went to Celebrimbor in Ostin Ephil in Eregion, and then was accepted. But in this case, we have the beautiful situation that Elrond and Gil-galad are already in Lindon, so maybe Gil-galad and Elrond say, no, we don't trust him, but Celebrimbor says, well, you don't trust him, but I trust him, and let's see what he can teach us.
That would be a very, very interesting way. And I think it, again, adds to the thing, the concept of, will Celebrimbor know Halbrand? I think that is a key thing to all this. I think, Gregory, you even mentioned it earlier. Who here thinks Celebrimbor already knows Halbrand? No? Okay, fair enough
No.
then.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
No, that's fair. But
I mean, Halbrand asked Adar if he knew him, and Adar obviously didn't, so I don't think Celebrimbor would know him. But maybe Halbrand already knows Celebrimbor.
Right.
Mm.
I guess it
It
just
could
depends
well
on how far they're going to go with his shape-changing abilities. Are they going to make him like Mystique from X-Men or something? I mean,
Yeah.
anything's possible at this point.
And
But maybe this will be the reveal at the end of the season, that we don't see him directly as Sauron or as a smith, but him changing somewhere in the background, changing from Halbrand to Anatar to a fair form, and then cut black screen, season ends.
Ooh.
that all very, very good predictions. I think we are doing a stellar job. So I think let's cast ourselves away now. I think people are saying it. Yeah, Bruce even says it. But who is the stranger? Frederick, can we get the picture up? You already got up. Brilliant. Frederick's the man. So we have the Mystics. They find Meteor Man. Any predictions? Any ideas what's happening here? I'll start off with Henry.
So obviously we know Meteor Man was sent off to wherever he was going, and then obviously the Mystics were following up. It seems to be that one of the Mystics are saying, "Reveal yourself." I think, and so I'm guessing that's them thinking he's Sauron, but I'm not sure how that's going to play out.
And some Viking says
Maybe they just say that to everyone. Reveal yourself.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe that's what they said to Nori.
Hoping they're right.
Ember power.
Yeah.
He says rap battle for sure. It would be quite an interesting thing, but I think yes.
Is that the apple?
Ooh,
Frederick
that's
Ooh.
apple from the tree.
That's actually the apple that Isildur threw into the ocean when he didn't give the rest of it to Beric.
They went swimming.
Yeah.
That somehow ended up with Harry in the future.
Oh yes. Sorry for that.
I just have to come in and say this, that I think the Meteor Man is going to go to the Mystics, like give them the apple when they encounter and say friend, like Nori said to him.
Ooh.
And that would be a really sad moment because they are not friends.
Are they gonna kill him? I don't want them to kill him.
I don't think I think they might have a standoff.
Mm.
but it just seems so up in the air, and I don't know where it could go.
I've
Well,
two
does
thoughts of
anyone
why.
think that?
Pardon me, go ahead. After you.
Oh, does anyone think they've already had a standoff? Because were they the three wolves?
Oh.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay.
That was a possibility with the wolves. But for me, there's another crazy one. Is in the last episode they took a strand of Nori's hair, and then people are thinking maybe because they're witches they shapeshift into Nori to find Meteor Man. That's another crazy one, but like if she does,
I don't think they would need to, because they probably
Yeah.
think they're strong enough to kill him if they need to.
Yeah.
And they also, if they think he's Sauron, they might think like Master, you know.
Right.
So, but I don't think it's a friendly family dinner we're looking at.
Yes.
She looks very motivated right
Brady
there. She's
Sibley,
so
wow.
cool though. Man, I love her. She's so cool.
Yeah.
Someone even
Brilliant.
mentioned that it's similar to something that Celebrimbor has back at the Forging place. There's a similarity, but of course we won't be able to find that now. But it is quite an interesting thing. But
It looks like the eye on a tower. Like it looks like
Yes.
it really does.
See, Charlotte Brandstrom in an interview said that they work for Sauron. That's what Charlotte Brandstrom said herself. So
Okay.
are we all on the same idea that they think Meteor Man is Sauron? Are we all
I
on
don't
that?
think so. No,
I
I
don't
think
think so.
they want him for a reason, but I don't know what it is. If it's on a quest from Sauron to find him because they want to turn him. Like I still think he's a wizard of some sort. But and that they want to convert him into evil somehow. I'd rather think they work for Sauron than they're looking for Sauron.
I could see that.
What? I just
I'm
thought of an
I'm
idea.
with you on that. And furthermore, really quick about Meteor Man, I saw an article that talked about the use of the word peril, and that in the Lord of the Rings, the word peril is used by Gandalf twice as much as it's used by the next character who uses it the most, which is Aragorn. And if you remember, it's one of the first words he's learned here. And I mean, I would still rather him end up being one of the Blue Wizards, but it is definitely a feather in the cap of the idea that this will be Gandalf. And I think that whole Lord Sauron thing we saw in the promos, as far as what the Mystics are saying, I think that's a flashback. And I think they've been sent to attack, or, and I think we will see Sauron in that flashback with the Mystics. I don't think they think that he is Sauron, personally.
Well, talking about the Mystics, Frederick, look what our very own Carl Richards has said. There's a clip in the preview where Nori's eyes change into looking exactly like the Dweller's eyes. So something is definitely happening there. That's what I'm going to say. There seems to be, maybe if there is some shape-shifting, maybe, the Mystics are shape-shifting. Maybe they are Sauron after all.
Or maybe they're using her like the eagle in Game of Thrones, no, the bird in Game of Thrones. It's like she's using Nori. Her
like
eyes
the
to
walls,
see.
like the looking through Nori's eyes. That's cool. Yeah, I can see that too.
Yep, and that would be really, really interesting. And Bill C again, thank you, says, "Is that a magic rope? Shades of Wonder Woman about to snare him."
Well, I want to say as well, she took a piece of her hair, right? If she's a witch, witches use hair all the time to hex people. So maybe she uses it to sort of control Nori, to either keep tabs of her or to control her to help kill or convince Meteor Man to be evil, or like that, or to watch him to find him. And then this scene is after that.
Chronologically, that could possibly work. It'll be interesting. I think the two main things in this episode is going to be whatever's happening with the forging and whatever's happening here. Also, Cascadia, thank you for the super chat as well. So it is interesting. Could we, now there are no flashbacks, that would be quite interesting. But I think, could we please, Frederick, pull up the picture of Nori and Poppy? Do we think they end up finding Meteor Man? Who finds him first, them or the Mystics? What do you think, Lucas? If his mic's muted, then I'll change that. Are you back?
No, there's a bit of a
but
delay.
I have no clue
Okay.
about this.
Okay, but I'll add on to Gregory then, or anyone else wants to take over.
Can I chime in? Because this, I don't know, she looks really scared. And I don't know if she's scared because Nori has just been controlled by the Mystics and has done something horrible. Or if something else has happened, or if they're saying goodbye because Poppy just can't do it anymore, and Nori realizes she has to go on her own to do the rest. Or maybe they're terrified and terrified of the Mystics, and they've seen the Mystics do something else, and she freaks out, and Nori's like, "No, we're gonna do this. We can help him." You know.
I think
That's
Mickey's
what I
on
think, yeah.
something here. I think Mickey's onto something here because if you look at the image itself, she has a pack on. It very much looks like a goodbye scene. Poppy's crying. Nori's telling her it's going to be okay. And I think it also thematically really works with the notion that Harfoot stay together. They walk the same path. But the entire season, we've seen Nori wanting to break off and do her own thing and sort of, experiencing the call to adventure, so to speak. And so I think this is the moment where we see her set off on her own.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be the exact moment where she's actually being, if we go to she's being possessed by the Mystics, maybe she's possessed by the Mystics in this shot. And that's why Poppy's scared, because wearing a pack, they're all wearing packs on this adventure. What I predict is going to happen is that perhaps a lot of our different storylines are going to intersect. I mean, is it possible, looking at the geography, will the Harfoots cross paths with Galadriel and Halbrand, all on the way? I don't know. It could be something like that.
Yeah, at least the elves know of Harfoots, but I don't know. Like, the Mystics have to die.
Yeah.
They cannot tell Sauron that Harfoots or hobbits even exist. Like,
true.
They shouldn't be on his radar at all. If they're part of changing the course of everything that's happening in the Second Age, then Sauron would be more aware of Frodo and Sam and the hobbits in general in the Third Age. So I don't know, maybe Mithril kills them.
The only caveat I can think to that idea is if the Mystics let essentially Sauron or somebody know later on, and then there's a Harfoot genocide, but some of them survive unknowingly to Sauron, which is why he doesn't think about them, because he thinks he killed them before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, as much as I would be heartbroken to see Harfoots die, it's an option.
Yeah, but then again, when we hear about it in history later on by like Bilbo and all that, wouldn't they be like, "Oh, adventure is terrifying"?
Yeah.
You
know? Yeah.
And I think, Frederick, I think there is one more picture of the Harfoots. Oh, sorry, we got.
That's a Harfoot right there. A Hardfoot.
Daddy.
Yeah, while we do that, and Bill C with another super chat, Nori brings a staff from the hill tree for a wizard to allow him to fight. Wow, that is. So Nori's going to be supporting that way. That's another interesting way. And yeah, Bill's coming up with a lot of interesting theories today. So is this potentially? I'm interested they've chosen this still as like
it's a goodbye scene. I think it matches the Poppy one. She bouncing.
Yeah, but then her dad didn't come on this journey to begin with, did he?
Right.
So what is he doing there? Like, did he follow them and be like, "Hey, don't leave me behind"? Or are they back at maybe they finished what they were supposed to do, and this is them going back to the Harfoot camp, and then she's gonna stay, and Nori is gonna go out on an adventure with the Meteor Man by herself.
Dirty, nasty things that make you late for tea.
Indeed. And To add to that, Corey Castle with the super chat says, "For just a moment, let's reflect. This is the first depiction of travel packing." Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Traveling light for once.
No one
Yes.
travel packed in the first age. It started in the second age.
Mm. Indeed. But I think I did set up Frederick. But now, my friend, please go on to that next picture. There we go. We've all forgotten about this? Man, elf.
That's not from
Anybody?
episode 6?
Uruk.
Yeah, it is from episode 6, but it's going to be this Uruk. Yeah. What's going to happen with Adar in this final episode? Anybody have any initial predictions?
I think he's just gonna realize that Sauron's back, and that's kind of gonna be his thing, and then just you might see some decision making regarding how he's gonna approach things afterwards. But yeah,
Maybe that's the
all
spirit
I
of
can
the
think of.
mystics. Maybe the mystics kill him because they're like, "Oh, you killed our
Ooh.
master."
Ooh,
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like Adar will last a couple seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
Adar's going to be maybe another, thorn in the side of Sauron, and there'll be some struggle there, and ultimately he'll be defeated. But he's actually my favorite character because I feel that he is sort of, especially in episode 6 in the interrogation scene, I felt like for the first time I was seeing, something from the first age that I've always been dying to see on the screen, just any story from the first age. And it was just nice that he was like this little echo of that we're allowed to see with the rights that have been procured and that the Tolkien estate will allow us to see. Is here we have, this elf that was corrupted into ultimately the first orc or the first Uruk. So I really appreciated that as a fan of the deep lore. And I felt like the actor really portrayed him excellent. Maybe could be the best actor on the whole show. So anyway, all right. That's my love letter to Adar.
Jason, I so agree. Jason, I agree with you 100%. I think he's been one of the best parts of the show. Grounding it and giving us more really interesting sort of philosophical perspective. I think maybe more than any other component of the show, challenging the viewers in a little bit and providing a wall for Galadriel to bounce off of, and improving her character as well. And I just press releases have shown that Joseph Mawley will be returned for season 2. Could just be flashbacks, but what's that?
Really, has there been like press releases saying that he'll be back?
I googling unless the article I'll send it to you later. Unless that thing I was looking at is incorrect, it was saying that he will be back because I was just googling to check because that's obviously a good way to figure out a little bit about what's going to happen here. Is presuming he is. Then I think that I would love to see more of him. I think it would be a shame. It doesn't feel like his character has really explored if he thinks he killed Sauron and Sauron's still here, that is, and we know he can't be, he's not Elendil and he's not Gil-galad. So, but I would love to see something that he's play a role in the downfall of Sauron over the course of the next few seasons as sort of like an anti-hero character. And maybe we'll just see the first, I like that idea that maybe this is the episode where he learns that Sauron is still alive, or even if that maybe happens in the next season, at least maybe, there's going to be some little fun button, I think, with him showing what's up with Adar. I'd love to hear what people's thoughts are about what that might be.
Anybody have any predictions for Adar?
He looks kind of both happy and sad, so.
Well, he is now the Lord of Mordor, isn't he? So isn't that going to be temporarily, but isn't that going to be a bit of a problem for whoever Sauron is? I don't think they're friends, I'll be honest. So do you think we will see a confrontation between Sauron and whoever Sauron is and Adar at some point? Do you think that's in the running? Jason, do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, I think that'll be like season 2 or 3, so that's sort of the end of an arc with him. and then it'll start to move into the Numenor and the siege and taking Sauron to Numenor. Maybe that's in season 3 and 4, and then the Last Alliance, of course, season 5. So maybe he's sort of there to keep the stakes high as TV viewers while everything else is building.
That's fair. That's fair. I think it is. It'll be interesting to see, because I think Strider even mentioned to me that, of course, in the War of the Last Alliance, every race except the elves was split. So maybe we see that maybe down the line, Adar is potentially on the side of the Last Alliance. Could that be a possibility? Maybe his beloved orcs, Urk, I should say. But for me, I think the character of Adar really here is to show how bad Sauron is, because Sauron effectively enslaves the orcs, whereas they look up to him. And then if he kills their leader and starts to enslave them, it just adds that extra layer of brutality and evilness, the true villain nature to Sauron. So I don't know. I don't see.
He's a character that deserves redemption, I feel. Like he's worthy of some form of redemption if he flips over to the good side or the good alliance. He has impressed with just who he is, basically. So he's actually a villain who's easy or hard not to like, kind of. So yeah.
It also might be one of those ultimately tragic characters where he never is really fully accepted by the side of good, but he cannot side with Sauron. And there's a tragedy in that this corruption, which he did not choose for himself, has left him irredeemable to one side. And his only other choice is to be enslaved. And so again, he's fighting against Sauron, but in this sort of no man's land of not being accepted by either side. And that could be sort of the ultimate tragic end to his character, that maybe the audience, and he ends up being a sympathetic character to the audience more than he ever becomes to the characters in the show.
I think personally that he will, when Sauron obviously becomes big and the orcs become aware of, Sauron, the true Dark Lord, is back, I feel like there's going to be a split of loyalty in his own camp. And ultimately, I think that will cause Adar's demise by his own Uruks. And that will be the tragedy in that he sees these, what he thinks as just kind of misguided and just unfortunate souls. But then they relent, they essentially prove their evil nature and then kill Adar, return to Sauron.
I could see that. Yeah. I mean, that's the great thing about this character, honestly, is that it's the only way he's connected to the lore is he represents what we've heard about. We all know, even casual fans know, that elves were corrupt, or that orcs were corrupted elves at some point. I mean, if anyone watched the Peter Jackson films, they heard that explanation. So the great thing about him for the show is they can kind of do whatever they want with him, and we accept that he is a corrupted elf from the first age, and that yes, this is probably what he would do along the way. So I think that for book fans and lore fans, it's easier for me to follow him and be okay with what they do with him, because there's no lore exactly saying there's nothing, there's no lattice work of what he did, so I'm really going to enjoy what they do with Adar.
Here's another thing. Do you think we'll find out who Adar really is? Do you think, or that's just always going to be just a mysterious thing that he is one of the first twisted orcs? So that'd be an interesting thing to find out.
Right. I
might
think
see a flashback.
Yeah, I mean, it could, obviously, Gwindor ended up like this. Some of the sons of Fëanor ended up like this, Eol, Meglin, but it seems like he the way Galadriel, or the way just with that interaction, it seems like he was grabbed before any of that. Like he was nabbed. Maybe he never even saw the light of the trees. Maybe he was grabbed by Morgoth before. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It would be maybe if people are talking about
Maybe this
flashback.
is a flashback. Maybe this is. Sorry.
What's the flashback?
Maybe
Yes,
this
it's
is flashback. Maybe this is like this picture. Yeah.
How? No, this is not from the next episode. Sorry, this is from a previous one. So.
Oh, okay. So
this is
okay.
Yeah, this is a previous one. Yeah, I should have made that clear. But I think we have covered a lot of it around Adar. Gregor, do you have something final?
I hope. Also, I'm.
Oh, sorry, it's Lucas. That was Lucas. My bad. Sorry. Go ahead, Lucas.
You go ahead first, Lucas.
I think the Mordor Southlands plot is mostly done for this season, but we have one guy still in Mordor, and that is Isildur. And maybe Isildur will see, because we know he will live, will somehow see Adar again.
That would be a quite interesting interaction because it would be quite close. And that's something
maybe Adar saves him. Maybe Adar saves Isildur.
Yes.
And then goes away. Or he dies while rescuing Isildur.
Ooh. That's an interesting thing. And
Barking could go to Pelargir.
Pelargir, yeah. That's an interesting thing as well. I think we should talk about as well. But first, Varkin, as mentioned, yeah, Beric is in Mordor also. So that is quite a nice thing. But yeah, Pelargir, do you think we're going to see it in the next episode? We've got, if Frederick, sorry that Abdus, but if you could find a picture of it like Aronde and Bonwin or Theo, something like that. Do you think we'll see them again this season? Do you think we'll see them in Pelargir and then make it there and maybe find Isildur there? Do you think that's a possibility, Henry?
I think you're muted.
He's muted.
Henry.
Yeah, muted.
Oh, sorry. I don't think we'll really get too much. If we do see them, it will just be kind of a couple shots of them reaching their destination, because I feel like their arc for this season is done. And there's not really much to add.
Yeah, and I feel like as well, Isildur, there might be a cliffhanger there. We don't know if he's alive, right?
Yeah.
So there's a spoiler. But I feel like they would leave that until next season and then have him like surprise, he's alive. They're not gonna spend the last episode showing him being rescued by Beric. I don't feel like I feel like there are more important things to establish in the last episode than that. And that's a good cliffhanger because it's a good surprise for like next season.
People are saying maybe Isildur kills Adar. That would be quite an interesting turn of events. But I think at last, I'm gonna include the dwarves that Frederick will get up next, alongside. Do you think we'll see them in this episode? I think there has to be something that
I do think.
So go ahead.
So we see Durin 3 die.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, not like that.
They're leading up to that. I mean, they've had 2 separate episodes where they have, the father-son confrontation and then the father-son, reconciliation. And then now they don't. They're not reconciled currently. And so for dramatic purposes, Durin the third dying and sort of leaving things unresolved with Durin the fourth would certainly cause tension for this, in the storytelling. Can we just say how incredible the actor that plays Durin the third is? I mean, if you ever said Dwarven King, like there, every scene with him is just like riveting as the king.
Both of them, Durin 3 and 4.
Oh, yeah.
I think
and Elrond and Durin the fourth's relationship is amazing. I mean, it's some of my favorite parts of the show. So
agreed. Yeah, 100%.
And
Do we know what the runtime of this episode is?
I don't think we do yet. And we don't even know the
3
name
hours.
of it yet. 3
10
hours.
hours.
Because I feel like I feel like with the amount of stuff that needs to get wrapped up and things that I suppose need to get set up for season 2, I can't really see there being much in the way of the dwarves and the Southlanders at all. But they kind of need to be shown a little bit.
Yeah, just to
And it's
remind
just
us that they're there.
But it's like how like what's going to be the balance? Because obviously we don't know how long it is, so hard to judge.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but too much would be too much, I
Mm.
think.
Yeah, balancing all the storylines out will be important. But I think this is quite a nice one, final one. What do you think the final scene / final moment of the season finale will be? Do you guys want some time to think, or should I start from Lucas and go down to Henry? Lucas, do you have
Repeat the
any
question?
idea? What do you think the final scene, the season finale moment will be? Almost the cliffhanger for the next season.
Sauron
Are we going in order?
reveal
Yeah.
in
You think
some
that
sense.
final scene?
Yeah, I think the Sauron reveal will be the final scene, ever kind.
Gregory, any thoughts? Any ideas?
That it was honestly that's my prediction as well. So come back to me because I'll throw a dark horse candidate out if you just give me 30 seconds to think of something.
Cool. Jason, what about you?
Yeah, if there's anything we've learned about how this show is going so far, the last 3 seconds of the show will reveal to us who Sauron is, and who knows, it might even be blurry, like the end of the Adar episode, where you don't even see his face. But that's what I predict will happen. You know, those words of the mystic saying, you know, you are Sauron, gonna show who it is, and then boom, we don't get anything for 2 years.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I agree with this. Like I picture the whole, like, you see kind of either blurry or a shadow, or you just hear a voice in a scene with Celebrimbor, perhaps. But I'll also throw out that, you know, we have the moments with Halbrand getting there, and they're talking about, you know, we want to make some rings, we want to do this, blah blah blah. All of this stuff happens. They forge something with Galadriel's dagger, and then they're like, but we need the Mithril. What are we gonna do? And then the last image will be Durin the Third dying. And then we don't
That-
even see Sauron because
that
we're going
really-
into the next season.
That really contrasts Varking's ending, where he says, during the third and fourth hug, as they let go during the third, place a mithril bracelet in the hands of during the fourth. Tells him we can't save all the elves, but we can save your friend. Tears, end scene, fade to black. Same, Nikki and I think they're on the other sides there. Henry,
I'm sorry,
you?
Varking. I know I love all of the dwarves. I don't want any of them to die, but that's my prediction.
I think that the Sauron reveal will be later in the episode, but about probably like maybe 10 to 15 minutes before the end. And there'll be a big, I suppose, confrontation. There'll just be a big kind of furore about it for whoever's there. And the last shots will be either Sauron, whoever his identity is, either disappearing or fleeing, and you can sort of make a guess to where he's going.
But it's going to
I
be
have-
Anatar, right? Not Sauron. So it's going to be Anatar reveal.
I'm not. I don't
can
know.
mine.
Hmm.
I think that if it's not Sauron as the last 3 seconds of the film or of the show, this season, I think then what we will get will be along the lines of where Henry was, that he'll be revealed to us 10 or 15 minutes before the end. So I do think it will be very clear to the audience, if not the characters, who Sauron is. If that is the case, then I think what we will see in the shot is the moment of this character who is Sauron and perhaps Celebrimbor discussing the plans to make great rings and what will come henceforth.
Yep.
Again, very interesting. What about Meteor Man? Maybe could his reveal be a finale moment? Do you guys think, or does it has to be Sauron? Because we haven't thought about his reveal either, which could be a possibility. Or maybe the final shot is maybe Celeborn coming in. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
would
a
love that.
cliffhanger has to be a cliffhanger has to feel threatening. It can't be a positive thing. So Meteor Man say being revealed as Gandalf is going to be like, oh, that's nice, but it's not going to make us want to watch the next season. It's not going to make us like, what is going to happen next? It has to be a cliffhanger that makes even people who have no idea about Tolkien whatsoever want to watch the next season when it comes out and are waiting in anticipation. So it can't be like the feeling of getting a conclusion. It can't be anything like that. It has to be the feeling of something is going to happen. I need to see what that is.
I think our Adar
that is
will be very close to the end. Maybe not the final shot, because I think his things mostly wrapped up. But I think whatever we get with him will be towards the end and building towards that final shot.
Ooh, I think one for my actual serious one now. I think it could be maybe Sauron, or maybe Halbrand killing Adar, and that reveal happening like that. That's my prediction. It's out there, really far out there, but that's my prediction. Because what a way to end the season. So,
or the Mystics coming back,
Mystics,
and that's where the Mystics reveal who Sauron is, perhaps.
Very, very true. But does anybody have any final predictions?
One thing I will say, yes, one thing I will predict, it's not going to end with the Harfoots.
Okay.
That's not going to be a final. Like, I severely doubt that the cliffhanger is going to be Harfoot related.
This chat's made me quite laugh. You think Sauron reveal is like the Mordor reveal with some PowerPoint effect? I do.
Yeah, it'd be like a really bad font across the screen.
Yeah.
It's like
Halbrand. It's just the
Sauron.
IMDb picture of the actor just sort of floats in the background.
Bringing up that was like one of the cheesiest moments of the whole
I loved it.
show.
I'll be honest.
Like, just let Adar say it.
Yeah.
Did it really have to do it?
Right.
And why didn't they do it on a map at least? Right? Like, it was just
It's
so
kind of
weird.
like, have you guys seen The Emperor's New Groove when the llama kind of stops the whole thing to explain and scribble like this is who's important, not this one? I kind of feel like that would be it. Like he would be like, okay, so this is me now, this is who I used to be, and this is my name now. So just so you know, now we can go back to it.
Fair enough. So any final predictions?
I have one, and it's with the Mystics. So we know how in previous like trailers and previews, dialogue has been cut up to lead you into a particular thing. When it's like it can be vastly different in the actual show. I'm thinking that the preview where the Mystics saying reveal for us who you truly are, Sauron, they're two separate pieces of dialogue, and it's them just going to Meteor Man say, reveal who you are, because we know you're something, but we don't know what, and then them saying Sauron is potentially either later or early on, where they're just kind of, I think it would probably be afterwards, where they're maybe convincing whoever Meteor Man is to follow Sauron, maybe. That's all I got.
That's
or it's someone else saying Sauron entirely.
Yeah. And Toku Senpai asks us, will Tar plan to die before the fleet returns? That's interesting.
Yes.
We haven't even touched Numenor yet. Oh yeah, anything I picture what's going to happen in Numenor? Mithril is now blinded. Do you think we're going to see Farazon really take helm in this final episode?
He's going to use this for all it's worth. He's going to be like, what did I say? You know, it's so bad. Elves are evil. He will this around.
And will they go because there were different drafts of there were some drafts of Tolkien's writing, I believe, where Muriel actually was in love with Pharazôn. The more popular one is that Pharazôn forced her to marry him. What way are we going to see that? You know, how are they going to portray that? I think we're going to see that this season 2. Our Pharazôn is going to start if he doesn't take over immediately, that's slowly going to happen in season 2. It's got to.
Do we think that when Muriel gets back to Numenor, Pharazôn could be noticeably more, I suppose hostile might not be the right word, but just sort of more visibly against Muriel as she returns and just like, you messed up, time to go, kind of thing?
He would have obviously gained control already. Like, I feel like he would have used her time away to rule in her stead and be like, you know, gaining the favor of everyone there. And then when she comes back blinded with a lot of people dead, he's going to be like, right, I told you so. Now we hate the elves. I feel like Elendil is also kind of going to go that direction, thinking that his son is dead and blaming obviously Galadriel. He is also going to put fuel to that fire. Eventually he will redeem that and it will change, but I feel like this is when things start to lay downhill for Numenor. And maybe he tricks Muriel. Maybe he's like using the fact that she's blind to sort of, you know, I'll take care of it. You just stay home. You just, you know.
Exactly. And I think some from the chat, Tokyo Senpai says again, prediction, Tar Planted dies after seeing vision of Orodruin exploding. Muriel assumed dead. Pharazôn takes the scepter. But then we have another one from Mikey Lawrence where he says, I think the creation of rings will restore Tar Planted and he maybe become corrupted and become a Nazgul. That would be a very interesting. Priscilla TV says Halbrand will be seen leaving Lord Celebrimbor's bedroom late in the evening, and after that, a ring will be forged, but not the One Ring.
It's a different kind of ring.
Yeah, one cock ring to rule them all.
Yeah, and I think Enigma Records says it quite well. I would have thought Pharazôn would have usurped the throne while she was gone until she was blinded. So now I think she's going to be pro Pharazôn and make him king for her goals. That would be an interesting twist on Miriel's character. People think when Miriel returns, her cousin might have already declared himself. Pharazôn, her blindness might make her appear weak, leading to their marriage. So lots of stuff happening in Numenor. And I think does anybody in this panel, I think I asked it before, final predictions, something you haven't been able to mention earlier, it's on your mind?
I want to throw out something that is not for this episode, but just since we're not going to see probably a prediction episode for I don't know, until shortly before the second season comes out, I just want to say I think at some point in the show we're going to get a Tom Bombadil appearance, but obviously as you know, and you know, they got 5 to do it. And
it's Meteor Man, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he's oldest and fatherless. He has to be there. You know.
And Nori is Goldberry.
Oh wow.
Oh wow! Oh my god,
that's something.
Fair enough.
I think we need a Tom Bombadil show. He needs 10.
We do
5 seasons of his own show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, Wow, what a conversation we've had today. First of all, I thank the chat. We hit about 290 live viewers, which is crazy. So we're still over 200 strong. Thank you for joining us today. Also for all the super chats. And as I said that, Corey Castellas put in another one. Would like to see some Isildur / Adar co-opting mentorship interaction to foreshadow his eventual failure to destroy the ring. That is what I think. It's the only way. Yeah, it's a good way to get Adar back into the story, because maybe that is it as well. And as Priscilla, so thank you again for the super chat. I think that's a cool idea. Priscilla TV says hit the like. Of course, thank you as always for the support. Hit the like button. And we also have the watch party show on Sunday after the episode. That's where we're going to do our main discussion. And we're also doing a live watch party for when the episode drops at 5 a.m. as well. So we've got two.
wow.
We've got after party on Sunday. Then we've got the watch party when the episode drops. So thank you guys. And also, this is unfortunately might have to be the final prediction stream. So I want to give a big shout out
For a while, at least.
For a while,
Yeah.
to Chase and Anna Maria as well, who
Yes.
joined us at parts but couldn't make it. And maybe if you guys want us to continue doing a show on Wednesday evenings after season one is finished, let us know. Would all you guys be up to that possibly? To continue talking
Yeah.
on the show?
Yeah.
Always
Perfect.
up for
Let's do
talking Tolkien, man. Always.
Perfect. Yep. Frederick says, also, everyone say thank you to in the chat as well to Frederick as well, who's been running the stream amazingly today. He's been behind the scenes. So
Sure. Thank you.
Woo.
So I want to, of course, firstly, thank all of the panel members for coming on today. As always, thank you, Lucas, for joining us for I think halfway through the our predictions thing.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you, Gregory, as well, been there since episode 1.
Thanks for bringing me aboard, my friend.
Also, even though Jason Charles, even though it has been your first one, you have been amazing. Lots of doing predictions. So yeah, glad to have you on again in the future.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mm-hmm.
A great time.
Nikki, again, thank you as always. Been here since the very start. That's how
Always a pleasure. We don't say goodbye, we say Namaria.
Namaria. There we go. And then also to Henry Barliman Butterbur, joined from the first episode as well. Thank you, my friend.
You took my line. Always a pleasure. Till next season.
Till next season. So, and of course, we've already said thank you to the marvelous Frederick. But most importantly, thanks to everyone watching. It's crazy. It's season finale.
And thank you to you, Harry.
Tomorrow. Oh, thank you. Oh, I've gone black. What happened? Okay. Yes.
A big thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I think it's crazy that the season finale is going to be in just about under 48 hours now. So yeah, who's excited? I think we've made it. We've made it to the finale. All good. Took 2 years, probably going to be another 2 years. But again, we've got another super chat before we go. Eric Lee says, what does Halbrand as Sauron gain by his actions this season? That is an interesting question. I think probably it's more to do, I think, with the Galadriel storyline, with the fact that she has allowed Sauron to return. He's been able to, go to Eregion. We know he's a forger, so I think there is something there.
That is to Numenor, and he's being taken to Eregion now. So he's obviously gained a lot, and he gained the whole Southland, and he sort of was there when Mordor was created. So I feel like he's gained a lot just by being present.
One more thought on that.
Yeah.
We could be seeing repentant Sauron, and that the Sauron does not wish, who's taking a break, right? And from trying to rule the world. And if that's the case, then we might in the future see the moment where he has his reversion, in which case perhaps he really just does want to forge good things and he's going to be stoked to be there, and he's not actually trying to, just there is that version. So that could happen.
Yeah.
And in which case it would perhaps be so deceitful.
Mm-hmm. There are so many. See, we even saying goodbye, we still cannot. There's always so much discussion to have. And Strider says, shout out to Strider as well, who couldn't make it. Hope you had fun at your party. So I think, as Nikki says, it isn't. Do you want to say it again? The Durin line?
We don't say goodbye, we say Namarie.
Namarie.